here today to discuss cannabis in the capital markets, part of the CSE Talks presentations. It is in part of the LIFT conference that took place this past weekend in downtown Toronto.
The cannabis sector has been fundamental to the success of the Canadian Securities Exchange over the last couple of years. We saw a very large influx of new issuer companies come to us starting in the spring of 2014, and a steady stream of folks have joined us from the sector, not just in Canada but from the United States as well. It really culminated in 2017 as the Canadian regulations for recreational use became clear. Similarly, we had a number of important jurisdictions in the United States also legalized for recreational purposes early in the year. In 2017, for the first time, companies listed on the exchange from all sectors raised more than $1 billion.
The marijuana sector is definitely a fast-moving industry. While we might look at the capital markets and say, have we missed the boat? I think it's important to remember that this is really one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And we are just starting. And in fact, the industry has yet to begin recreational adult use cannabis sales.
My name is Rosie Mondin. I'm the CEO of Quadrant Canatech. We were listed on the CSE in February, March of 2017. Being listed on the CSE has just been a fantastic experience. Given that they are totally focused on the cannabis space, it was a no-brainer that that's where we wanted to be. We've had a fantastic relationship with them. They've been a great ally. I'm an ambassador for them now. I'm on that cover of their new magazine that just came out, Public Entrepreneur, and I'm more than happy and blessed to be a part of this great cannabis family.
I am the head of Leviathan Cannabis Group, which is listed under the symbol EPIC, EPIC. We started trading at the end of January this year. We've gone up 1,000% since we started trading, traded millions of shares. The CSE has been a tremendously liquid platform for us and one that gives us a great foundation to go out in the world and do deals, whether they be acquisitions, joint venture deals. There's a lot of credibility associated, for us anyway, with being listed on the CSE, and we couldn't be happier about how we've done and how the CSE has supported us in our endeavors over the last few months since we started trading.
Quinsam Capital is a CSE-listed investment company that has about $40 million invested in a wide variety of cannabis-related stocks. One of the benefits of being a corporate listed entity is that we are able to get into a large number of pre-public situations. We have a large exposure to the United States. We have exposure to several other countries internationally as well. One of the things that the CSE has done for us is it really has facilitated our entire investment strategy.
The CSE has been tremendously helpful to us. We again have been on it since November of 2016. It was, I would say, very friendly place to list. I've been with other companies on the TSX and the TSX Venture. I'd have to say that the level of support you're getting from the CSE staff is probably second to none.
Well, I can tell you everybody at our corporation is pleased to be working with the CSE. It definitely gives us the flexibility to go to investors with a vehicle that causes less stress to our potential investors, and certainly it keeps the costs way down from a regulatory compliance. So I know from our parent company and our Canadian company, the CSE is the best place to be at the moment.
Companies are attracted to the Canadian Securities Exchange because of our regulation model and our fixed, predictable fees. When I talk about our regulation model, it's really disclosure-based, so that exchange staff aren't necessarily going to second-guess a company's business acumen or business decisions. Instead, our approach is to require the company to provide extensive disclosure to the marketplace. That way, the marketplace is actually pricing the risk inherent in the company's operations.
We did have a ton of people here. The room was packed. It seems like there was an overflow from the LIFT conference. I hope everybody is able to make it to our next event, which is taking place May 31st in Calgary at Take Stock, Alberta.